Amelia Harper was 19, her eyes always searching for beauty in the world, as if it were a canvas waiting for her touch. Growing up in a modest neighborhood on the outskirts of Astoria, Oregon, she filled sketchbooks with vibrant drawings of the Pacific Ocean, the blooming dogwood trees, and the weathered faces of strangers she observed at the local farmers market. Her dream was to attend the prestigious Portland Art Academy, where she could transform her passion into a career. Her single mother, Rachel, worked long hours at a cannery to pay for Amelia's art lessons, and though money was tight, their small apartment was a haven of love and laughter, filled with the scent of Rachel's homemade clam chowder and the sound of old vinyl records. Amelia's life was a tapestry of hope. She'd earned a partial scholarship to the academy and was set to move to Portland in a month. Each evening, she'd climb to the roof of their weathered apartment building, sketching the sunset as it spilled hues of crimson and gold across the horizon. Her best friend, Lily Carter, a spirited, aspiring singer-songwriter, would join her, strumming an acoustic guitar and teasing Amelia about her artist soul. Life wasn't perfect. Money was always short, and the apartment's leaky roof was a constant annoyance. But it was hers, and it was beautiful. That beauty shattered one muggy summer night. Amelia was walking home from a late art class at the community center, her portfolio tucked under her arm, her sneakers scuffing against the cracked sidewalk. The coastal town was quiet, the shops shuttered, and the air heavy with the promise of rain. She noticed a black van trailing her, its headlights dimmed, its engine a low growl. Her pulse quickened, and she clutched her phone, ready to call Lily, but the battery was dead. She hurried toward the neon glow of a 24-hour gas station, her breath hitching. Before she could reach it, the van screeched to a halt, cutting her off. Two figures in dark hoodies emerged, their faces shadowed. Amelia screamed, kicking and clawing as they grabbed her, but a sharp prick in her neck, a syringe, sent the world spiraling into darkness. When Amelia awoke, she was no longer Amelia Harper. She was number 528. The room was sterile, white, and frigid, like a hospital stripped of warmth. Her wrists were bound to a metal chair with zip ties that bit into her skin. Her portfolio, her sketches of crashing waves and blooming flowers, was gone. Her paint-splattered jeans and hoodie had been replaced with a gray jumpsuit, stiff and scratchy. A woman in a lab coat stood before her, holding a clipboard, her face as cold as the concrete walls. "Name?" the woman asked, her voice clipped. "Amelia Harper," she croaked, her throat dry as sandpaper. The woman's lips pressed into a thin line. "You are number 528 now. Names are irrelevant here." Amelia's mind reeled, panic clawing at her chest. She was in a facility, a sprawling complex of steel and concrete, hidden somewhere she couldn't place. The air smelled of antiseptic and metal, and the constant hum of machinery vibrated through the walls. She learned she'd been taken by an organization called Nexara, a shadowy group claiming to rehabilitate society's forgotten, runaways, orphans, those who slipped through the cracks. In truth, Nexara was a front for illegal experiments, testing experimental drugs and behavioral modifications on vulnerable people. Amelia, mistaken for a homeless teen due to her worn clothes and late-night walk, had been swept into their net days bled into weeks, each one a blur of pain and disorientation. Amelia was subjected to a grueling routine, daily injections that left her dizzy and nauseous, physical tests that pushed her to exhaustion, and psychological sessions where researchers probed her memories with cold precision, trying to erase her sense of self. The injections burned, leaving her skin prickling and her thoughts foggy, as if her mind were a radio stuck between stations. In one session, a researcher with wire-rimmed glasses and a monotone voice asked her to recite her name, her hometown, her mother's face. When she answered, "Amelia Harper, Astoria, Oregon," he pressed a button, and an electric shock jolted through the chair, making her gasp. "You are number 528, he said. "Forget the rest." Defiance was punished swiftly. Speaking her name earned her a day in isolation, a pitch-black cell so small she couldn't stand. Refusing an injection meant a guard would pin her down, the needle jabbed without care. Yet in the quiet moments, Amelia clung to her identity. In her cell, barely larger than a closet, she whispered Amelia Harper to herself, her voice trembling but resolute. She traced her name in the dust on the floor, hiding it when guards passed. She wasn't alone in her suffering. The facility housed dozens of others, numbers, not people. In the communal dining hall, where they ate tasteless gruel under fluorescent lights, she met number 319, a quiet boy named Ethan Brooks, who'd been a street magician in Portland before his capture. His hands, once nimble with card tricks, were now scarred from labor. Number 742, a fierce girl named Sarah Delgado had run away from an abusive foster home, her eyes burning with defiance despite the bruises on her arms. The three formed a fragile bond, sharing whispered stories in stolen moments. Ethan's tales of busking on Portland's waterfront, Sarah's dreams of becoming a boxer, Amelia's sketches of the ocean. These fragments of their pasts were lifelines, proof they were more than numbers. Amelia's true rebellion was her art. Though her sketchbook was gone, she found a rusted spoon during a cleaning shift and used it to scratch drawings into the walls of her cell. She etched waves crashing against cliffs, dogwood blossoms, and the faces of her mother and Lily, their smiles etched in jagged lines. Each mark was a declaration: I am still here. I am Amelia Harper. The act of creating, even in secret, kept her spirit alive. She'd lie awake at night, her fingers tracing the grooves, remembering the feel of charcoal and paint. One day, a young volunteer named Noah Ellis, who delivered meals to the captives, noticed her drawings. Unlike the researchers, with their cold stares, Noah had kind hazel eyes and a hesitant smile that seemed out of place in the facility's sterile halls. He was a medical student from Portland, working part-time at Nexara to pay for tuition, unaware of the organization's true purpose when he signed on. Over time, he'd seen enough, syringes labeled with cryptic codes, captives with haunted eyes, to suspect something was deeply wrong. "You're an artist," Noah whispered one evening, slipping her a small pencil and a scrap of paper torn from a notebook. The paper was crumpled, but to Amelia it was a treasure. "Don't let them take that from you." She clutched the paper, her hands trembling. Over the next few weeks, Noah became her lifeline. He smuggled her supplies, a stub of charcoal, a torn piece of cardboard, each delivery a risk. He shared what he knew about Nexara. It was funded by powerful figures, possibly pharmaceutical tycoons, who profited from selling experimental drugs and behavioral data to corporations. Noah was torn, his guilt warring with his fear. Exposing Nexara could cost him his future, maybe his life, but turning a blind eye was eating him alive. Amelia's drawings evolved into more than art. They became a language of resistance. She began hiding messages in her sketches, using patterns and symbols to communicate with Ethan and Sarah. A dogwood blossom meant hope. A broken chain meant escape. She'd pass her drawings during meals, slipping them under trays or hiding them in napkins. Ethan, with his quiet intelligence, deciphered her codes, while Sarah, with her fiery resolve, began rallying other captives, whispering plans in the shadows. Escape seemed impossible. The facility was a fortress. Cameras in every corridor, guards armed with tasers, electrified fences surrounding the perimeter. But Amelia refused to let her spirit break. She memorized the facility's layout, sketching maps in her mind based on Noah's whispered intel. The guards' schedules, the location of the security hub, the maintenance tunnels running beneath the complex. Ethan, who'd picked locks as a street kid, practiced on rusted bolts during labor shifts. His fingers were learning old tricks. Sarah, with her boxer's strength, trained others to move quietly to strike if needed. The plan took shape around a storm forecast for the following month. Noah revealed that the facility's power grid was vulnerable during heavy rain, prone to short circuits. A blackout could give them a window, 10 minutes, maybe 15, to slip through the chaos. Amelia's role was to create a diversion, a fire in the storage wing where she'd seen flammable chemicals during a test. Ethan would disable the lock to the maintenance tunnel, and Sarah would lead a group to block the guard's path. Noah, risking everything, agreed to sabotage the security system, disabling cameras and alarms for the crucial window. As the storm approached, Amelia's fear grew. She lay awake at night, imagining her mother, Rachel, searching for her, her face lined with worry. She pictured Lily plastering Astoria with missing posters, her guitar silent without their rooftop jam sessions. The thought of their pain fueled her resolve, but it also broke her heart. What if she failed? What if she never saw them again? To inspire the others, Amelia drew a mural in the communal hall, hidden behind a loose panel where captives could see it. It was a phoenix, its wings spread wide, rising from a bed of ashes. She poured her soul into it, scratching the concrete with her spoon until her fingers bled. The phoenix was a promise. They would rise again, no matter the cost. Ethan saw it and squeezed her hand, his eyes shining with hope. Sarah nodded, her jaw set, ready to fight. The storm hit on a Thursday, a torrent of rain and thunder that rattled the facility's walls. Amelia's heart pounded as she slipped into the storage wing during a labor shift, her pockets stuffed with stolen chemicals, bottles of ethanol and cleaning fluid she'd swiped over weeks. Her hands shook as she poured them over crates of paper records, the sharp smell burning her nose. She struck a match, stolen from a guard's desk, and watched the flames catch, a roar of heat and light. The fire alarm blared and chaos erupted, guards shouting, captives screaming, sprinklers sputtering to life. Ethan moved like a shadow, picking the lock to the maintenance tunnel with a bent wire. Sarah led a group of captives to block a corridor, overturning tables and throwing trays to slow the guards. Noah, pale and sweating, typed an override code into the security hub, his fingers fumbling as alarms wailed. The cameras went dark, and the electrified fence powered down for 10 precious minutes. Amelia, Ethan, and a dozen others slipped into the tunnel, the air damp and suffocating. The walls were slick with mold, the darkness broken only by a flickering flashlight Ethan had stolen. They moved in silence, their breaths loud in the confined space. Behind them, shouts echoed. Guards had noticed the escape. Sarah, true to her word, stayed behind, leading a group to block the tunnel's entrance. "Go!" she shouted, her voice fierce. "Don't stop!" Amelia's heart broke, but she kept running, her sneakers slipping on the wet concrete. They emerged into the forest beyond the fence, rain lashing their faces, thunder drowning their footsteps. The group scattered, knowing Nexara would hunt them. Amelia, Ethan, and a few others stuck together, navigating the dense Oregon woods. They hid in a ravine as helicopters buzzed overhead, their searchlights cutting through the storm. Noah had stayed behind, promising to cover their tracks and leak Nexara's files to the media. As Amelia crouched in the mud, she heard distant gunfire, her stomach twisting with fear for Sarah and Noah. Amelia made her way to Portland, hiding in alleys and abandoned buildings, surviving on the kindness of strangers. A trucker who gave her a ride, a diner waitress who slipped her a sandwich. She was haunted by the faces of those she'd left behind, especially Sarah's fierce determination and Noah's quiet courage. In Portland, she found Lily, who'd never stopped searching, her missing posters plastered across the city. Their reunion was a collision of tears and hugs, Lily's guitar-calloused hands gripping Amelia like she might vanish again. Lily took Amelia to a safe house run by a women's organization that helped trafficking survivors. There, Amelia learned that Noah had succeeded. Nexara's files were leaked to the press, exposing their experiments. The facility was raided, its leaders arrested, but Noah had disappeared, likely targeted for his betrayal. Sarah's fate remained unknown, a wound that cut deeper with each passing day. Reuniting with Rachel was bittersweet. Her mother had aged, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes hollow from months of searching. They clung to each other in the safe house, Rachel sobbing apologies for not protecting her. Amelia struggled to reclaim her old self, haunted by the number 528. Nightmares woke her, filled with sterile rooms and faceless guards. She saw Sarah's face, heard Noah's whispers, and felt the weight of those still trapped. Art became her salvation. Amelia enrolled in the Portland Art Academy, her scholarship intact despite her absence. Her work transformed, darker, bolder, infused with pain and resilience. Her first exhibition, No More Numbers, was a raw, powerful collection of paintings. Ethan juggling cards with scarred hands, Sarah throwing a punch with fire in her eyes, Noah's kind gaze half hidden in shadow. The centerpiece was a massive phoenix, its wings blazing with crimson and gold, dedicated to Sarah and Noah. Each painting restored a name, a story, a life. The exhibition drew crowds, sparking conversations about human trafficking and institutional abuse. Amelia spoke at shelters and schools, her voice shaking but growing stronger. She wore the number 528 like a scar, a reminder of survival. She was more than a number. She was Amelia Harper, an artist, a fighter, a voice for those still in the dark.